They call it, or a lot of people call it, later love. Did you
Mhm.
think that you would have found love later on in your life when you're approaching the age of 40? And if so, why?
I never gave up hope that I would find someone for me. I guess it was the hopeless romantic in me. And I was so in love with the idea of being in love. And through my own personal journey, I lost my father when I was extremely young. So my first role model as a male figure, it's one of the reasons why I realized that I was sabotaging my own my own love life is that subconsciously men represented that they abandon you. So I was subconsciously choosing situations that I would always stay in control or know they would end. Um, and I still remember those feelings of like loneliness and the desire, the such the deep desire of wanting to be loved and experiencing what that meant. So I never gave up on that feeling. Um, and even in my 40s, I was just like, and at that point, I honestly felt that because I had worked so much on developing and really getting clear on why I wanted to be in a relationship and the definition of love, because we've been so conditioned and educated around what love is. So we're in love with the idea of being in love, which is very rom-com Disneyfied, right? It's like that whole beautiful romantic story, but that's not what sustains a long-term committed relationship when you're having kids, going through financial difficulties, losing a parent. There's so much more to it than that. So I think when I really got clear and saw a bigger picture, and this started with me not only focusing on what I wanted from a partner, but on a relationship perspective. I started asking myself, like, how do I want to grow and evolve in a relationship with someone that I'm going to be with for 10, 20, 30, 50 years? And what does love really mean to me? And what do I want my relationship with love to be? And that's actually how I started the whole project and the whole program I teach, and even the research on the book was, let me ask myself, what does love actually mean to me? And it's funny because as soon as I started asking myself that question, it wasn't an easy question to answer. And I was like, considering I've been studying and consuming and learning all about this, and I'm struggling answering this question, I can't even imagine what the average person out there is thinking. So my relationship with what love meant versus what I had seen, been conditioned, and learned about was very different now. So I was approaching attracting love in my 40s from a very, very different perspective. So I would say definitely an eternal optimistic. And just because I started growing more into who I was and accepting myself as a person and seeing myself as a whole, and that love for me I didn't need to be defined by being in love or being in a relationship anymore in my life. It was going to be more of an added bonus or butter on the toast, if that makes any sense.
I remember when I had a similar conversation. I'm a little bit younger than you, so I'm not going to say my age though. And in my 20s, I had no idea what the hell I was doing when it came to dating. But I was like, you know what? I want to find love. You know what love looked like to me? A
What is
very
it?
attractive girl. I
Mhm.
was I was a simple man,
Yeah.
right? But then at that time, I didn't know what the
Yeah.
hell I was doing, right? So I couldn't even get an attractive girl. So I was dating just to date, and I was going through the motions. And then one day I was like, you know what, Terrain, like, you need to understand what love really is. Is it superficial, meaning that it's what the person looks like, or is it something deeper?
Mhm.
And then what I did was I said, okay, let me look around because I grew up without my mother or my father. So I had a similar difficult childhood like you. So I didn't see love in the household. So I
Mhm.
had to see it outside. So what I did was I said, I'm going to ask all the people who have successful relationships to tell me what it looks like and what it is. So I went around and I asked girl number one, guy number two, married couple number three, and I asked all these people. And then what I started to do was when I started to attract better women, they were older just because I was speaking to older people. And they would say, okay, Train, you're 25, but in my 20s, I had no idea what I wanted. Now that I'm in my 30s or late 30s, I want this, this, and this. So I had 10, 15 years of future knowledge at my hands. And then when I began to get involved into this, I started telling people, I was like, you know what? Love, in a lot of ways, it's how you feel. Yes, you want to feel it, but it's more so how does it make you better as a
Mhm.
person? And I think a lot of people miss that. They're like, I feel it, right? And then when you ask them, okay, tell me what you feel, like, I don't know. But on Disney, I saw the rose petals, I saw, the
Yeah.
giggling and
Yeah.
everything like that. And I told him, like, love is difficult. Sometimes you don't like the person.
Yeah.
Sometimes you argue. Sometimes you're in two different rooms. And I'll ask you this question because this is something that I faced, but I want to hear it from you from a woman's perspective. When you were finding out what love meant to you, what do you think were some of the obstacles that not only you face, but maybe some of the people that you assist with in them facing it as well?
So, a few things, and that's such a great question. So, I like to say, everything that I teach around love and being in relationship is not the sexy romance story. So, I'm teaching you how to be in a really healthy, safe, thriving, I'm growing, and my butterflies have not been there at the beginning, but they grew into my relationship kind of story. That's what I'm trying to teach. So, I would say that um so there's a couple of things. Number one, I call it the triangle of love, which is one of the things I refer to in the book. So there's a massive difference between what we think we want, what we actually attract, and what's really right for us. And we spend, most of us, our time right here because we think we know what we want. And because of how we've been conditioned and what we see on TV and just how the world works, we're often focused on the partner in very, very superficial needs or wants. And I'll talk about needs and wants. That's the second thing. So, for example, I used to be type A, attracted to very type A personalities as well, rugged men, the bad boy, emotionally unavailable. So that wasn't right for me, but I thought that's what I wanted. But, I kept attracting them, but it's not what was right for me. I needed a man that was a little bit more feminine, a little bit, and feminine in his energy, not necessarily in his look, but more down to earth, more quiet, that would balance out, the yin and the yang. We say it. It's like being with someone that's the same as you is not good. We need the opposites to kind of like complement each other.